Please welcome Jennifer Garner and Lisa Borders.
Let's get this and own the crowd. We're gonna run now and take a bow. Let's get this and own the crowd. We're gonna run now and take a bow.
Wow, Jen, look at this. This is awesome.
Hi, how are you guys? Well, you know, let me start that I've never been in this seat before. I've never really had the kind of empathy I should have had for the person doing the interviewing, and and now I have a lot of amends to make. But I was so excited for a chance to speak with Lisa Borders that I just said, okay, I'll do it, and now I'm angry at everyone who thought of this because it's a little bit terrifying. But thank you for bearing with me. This is so exciting for me. It's just really a thrill and an honor. Thank you.
Listen, look who's talking. This is a bad girl right here. And so we're just gonna have a little conversation. Is that okay with you guys?
Just a chat amongst friends.
Yeah, it's gotta be because we got the mics. Here we go.
Okay, it's really a thrill and an honor for me to be here with you, and I have now geeked out, and I started just, you know, basic with your Wikipedia page, and then kept going on and on and on, and did such a deep dive. I did not sleep last night, and have read everything that's ever been said about you or that you've ever said. And so I just want to introduce you a little bit. I mean, the video did a great job, but obviously you are civil rights royalty. It's really something to be here, and this is a birthright that you have grabbed onto with both hands and made just a part of your life's purpose. And not everyone who grew up in that era or with the front seat to history that you had have grabbed onto it in the way that you have. And that's a really beautiful thing. Can you tell us a little bit, can you expand a little more on your, really? Sorry. Oh gosh, okay, I should have done a touch-up. Anyway, can you expand a little more on your childhood, and also, if it's not crazy, are there parallels to make between what you saw as a child integrating Westminster School in Atlanta, being that little girl, and the movement that you're leading today?
Absolutely. So childhood in Atlanta, I'm not sure I knew I was living through history. It was being written as I was growing up as a child. Our church, Wheat Street Baptist Church, where my paternal grandfather pastored for more than 50 years, is one block from Ebenezer Baptist Church. So Dr. King would come and sit in the pews and listen to my grandfather preach. And I can recall the desegregation of buses and the desegregation of the police force. My grandfather led those initiatives, but that was just Grandpapa doing his thing, right? I didn't understand that he was changing the world literally from our little place called home in Atlanta, and that became a crucible for the rest of the country. So the example that he led in desegregating the buses and the police department, you can see parallels there from what Dr. King did in Montgomery with the bus boycott. So as I look today at what I went through, helping to integrate an independent school, can I tell you the story about that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so there was no middle school at that point. I'm 61 years old. There was elementary school and high school. And in 6th grade, Jen, I got a D in conduct. What? Now look, I made straight A's in all my courses, but I had a D in conduct, and my mother and father said, you're gonna end up under the jail. We've got to send you to a place. She did, my mother said that. We've got to send you to a place that's more challenging. At the same time, Westminster was beginning to integrate. This is 1968, 1969. It's tough in Atlanta, it's tough all across the country, and we, in effect, were a little bit like guinea pigs.
You were the center of the fire.
We were in the center of the fire. So going to school there resulted from my bad behavior, talking in 6th grade, and now people pay me to talk. I just want to point that out. But I really did need to be challenged academically. What also happened, though, was I had to go through my own adversity of being a minority. I was student of color number 8.
Oh.
Out of 1,800 students. It was a K through 12. It is a K through 12 school. So that really was an interesting time for me. You are 12, 13, 14 years old. You want to fit in. You don't want to be the outlier, the outsider. People call me racial slurs every single day. People call me names now because I'm running Times Up. People call me names when I ran for political office. And what I realized is, if that's all you got, let's go.
And what did your parents have to say to you at the time?
So my father didn't say very much. My mother said a lot. I can remember in 10th grade, there was no interracial dating. It's time to go to the prom. And I said, I don't want to go to school here anymore. There's no one here for me to date. And my mother said, you're confused. You're not there to date. You've got your whole life to date, and I'm still working on that. I'm just saying. But she said, you're there to get an education, and this is the time to lay the foundation for who you're going to be, for how successful you will be, for what impact you will make on your community. So you will stay at that school, and you will study, and you will make the honor roll. Her name was Gloria. We called it the gospel according to Gloria.
Wow.
And so I stayed and I graduated.
And you will not get chalk on your shoes.
That's right, that's right. So Jen mentions chalk on your shoes. My mother had another saying, never get chalk on your shoes. And what she meant by that was there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything, and there's a chalk line down the middle. And if you get chalk on your shoes, you are much too close to the line.
Ooh.
So she was powerful. She was not a minister, but it left an impact for sure.
I will say that to my children before the day is out, before the sun sets tonight. So, and can you talk a little bit about the parallels between, and is it even fair to say, you went through just such a shift in history that it feels like, are there parallels between what you saw as a child and the movement you're leading now?
Yeah, absolutely. When I look back at 61, I certainly can appreciate not only the value proposition of the civil rights movement, but there were 3 steps. I feel that we acknowledged as a society that African Americans were disenfranchised, that they weren't treated fairly. We sought to address that inequity by offering voting rights legislation, right? So we changed some laws. And then we acted on those laws and encouraged African Americans to go to the polls, register, and vote so that their voices could be heard. So acknowledging the problem, addressing it, and then acting on it. And I have often said that Time's Up is the civil rights movement of the 21st century. It is women who are disenfranchised. We have been for a very long time. We continue to not stand necessarily on equal footing with our male peers in any environment. So today, as a society, we need to acknowledge that women have been treated as a disenfranchised class. We need to address it, changing laws, and then we need to act on those laws. But that's not all we need to do, because the one challenge I would offer about the civil rights movement is that we changed the laws, we didn't necessarily change hearts and minds. And so when I look at civil rights legislation today, the administration that's currently in power is attempting to defang, take all the teeth out of the laws that we changed. It is like an unattended garden. You have a garden, it's beautiful, everything is growing beautifully, and a weed pops up, and you don't address it. And then another pops up, and another, and before you know it, the garden is overrun with weeds. That is what has happened to civil rights, and I do not intend for that to happen with Time's Up and women. Thank you, Abby.
Okay.
So.
Preach. Okay, so something that you have said of yourself, which, well, I'm just gonna say it. You said, this was a Mary Claire interview.
Yeah.
I am an overachiever. I am obsessive compulsive about delivering results in a timely fashion, documenting what I'm going to do, delivering what I say I'm going to do, and then reminding you that I have, in fact, delivered. It's just so badass. It's so, to me, that is the essence of female. That is exactly what it's all about. So, you have had a life that in one way or another, you've been a public servant. You really have. You even ran for office, which, I mean, at the time must have been, seemed like a crazy thing to do. Now it's just part of everyone's civic responsibility, but you were a leader in that way as well. You were the president of the Atlanta City Council, which is no small thing. You ran for office as mayor, you were vice mayor, correct?
Correct.
Am I making that up?
No.
The story of your family's history with Coca-Cola and you coming in as CEO has to be one of the all-time inspiring stories of success in our culture. Whether it's just on paper, even with a couple of weeds, it's a good one. And then, of course, during your tenure at the WNBA, ticket sales went up, viewership went up, people went, oh, women play basketball professionally? It kind of changed everything. And as the NBA commissioner Adam Silver said on your departure, you were leaving the organization with strong tailwinds to propel them into the league into the future, which is awesome. So can you talk about these disparate experiences and jobs that you've had and how they led you to this point and to this movement?
Absolutely. So thank you for highlighting the career. My son used to say, Mom, you can't keep a job. Like you keep... But I said, but honey, look, everywhere I went, I was like the leader. I'm like the president, or I'm the commissioner, or I'm in charge. And he was like, well, did you fix it? I'm like, yes, long before Shonda Rhimes was talking about Scandal and Olivia Pope, I was fixing things. So I'm just madly in love with Shonda and how she put that all on paper. But listen, Jen, here's the thing. Women are often taught to nurture our husbands, our partners, our children, our families, our communities. But very often we are not taught to navigate or negotiate. So what I've learned through all of these roles is it's not enough to nurture. That is one element that's certainly important, but you've got to be able to navigate and negotiate. Now, I heard Abby up here earlier today. We know she's a badass, right? She navigated every field she played on. She negotiated, and she always won. Well, not always, but most of the time, Abby. But at the end of the day, I think we are often taught that we should put others before us. And we should not speak loudly about what we're going to do or what we have done. I take a page out of the airline industry's book. Delta's my favorite. The hub is Atlanta, and I fly Delta. That's my home. What Delta tells you as part of the safety message when you first get on the plane, put your mask on first. We as women have trouble with that. So what I found across all of these different sectors, public, private, and nonprofit, is that I needed to put my mask on first, meaning I needed to learn what was happening in that landscape, analyze it, outline what I'm gonna do, and then, in fact, do it. At the end of the day, results are what matter. I can remember telling one boss, well, I went to 10 meetings and I made 14 phone calls and I did this and I did this, and he goes, did you get the deal or not? That's activity. We're looking for results. As we try to move the needle on women's equality and advocacy for a new world, I'm not trying to repair a world. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to redesign the world where women have equal footing with their male peers. If you look at the study that's coming out of the Annenberg Institute, we've done a lot of partnership with Dr. Stacy Smith there. Amen, Dr. Stacy Smith and Annenberg. She tells us, for example, that of the last 1,200 films done over a 10-year period, only 4% of them were directed by women. So we have issued something called the 4% Challenge, and Tessa Thompson launched this for us at Sundance. And we have a group of women and men who have said, we will work with a female director over the next 18 months on a feature film, or 24 working months. We want to make sure that we move the needle. We identified the problem, we identified a solution, and then we began to execute. And we bring our allies along with us. We have to meet people where they are. We're not a church, we're not priests, we're not nuns, we're not in the absolution business. We're in the solution business, just to be clear. Y'all can clap, it's all good. So Jen, you the big actress, you want to join us in the 4% challenge?
To me, I mean, I have done 2 films with women and a TV show driven by women and directed mostly by women. So I feel like, oh, is it a challenge? Oh yeah, no, I'm down. I've got that. We've got it. Don't
Love
worry.
it.
I didn't know we had to announce it. I announce that I will take the 4% challenge.
Give her some love, y'all.
Yeah. I'm all for it. And you know what? Those sets are different. They are different. The leader does, you know, whoever is leading the charge, it's reflected in the crew. It's reflected in the way the ship is run, and just the different kinds of conversations you have on set. You have to have a woman in charge to have, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking about my next question. It's very stressful. So, this organization, it really made itself known January 1st of 2018. I don't know how many of you have held a 13-month-old, but they usually don't have a whole lot to say. In this amount of time, the Time's Up Legal Fund has amassed $24 million. There are, yeah. Almost 4,000 people have been connected to legal help who wouldn't have otherwise had it. There are over 90 cases that are active right now across all sectors. This is not just Hollywood women. And so I'm interested in how you think you're doing 13 months in, you know, this organization. And also, okay, hang on a second. Because the other thing that's fascinating to me is everything kind of went backwards. It started with eyeballs, and now you're having to build the jet while you're flying the jet. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there was a lot of attention. There were a lot of eyeballs on and Oprah and the women wearing black at the Golden Globes. So amazing. I wasn't there that year. I would have been in black. I'm wearing black today. It's all good. But so you came in and everyone was saying at the time, this is a leaderless organization, but I know these women. I was in those rooms. I was there for this kind of galvanizing sisterhood. These are colleagues that I see at award shows and almost nothing else. We are siloed off from each other. There is one woman on set, and then there's probably a costumer, maybe a makeup artist, and maybe the script supervisor, if that. I mean, really, this is a very male world. So with all of this passion and with, instead of no leaders, I know Katie McGrath. Okay, she's one of my closest friends. She is a leader. I know Reese Witherspoon. That woman is a leader. Shonda Rhimes, forget about it. Tracee Ellis Ross, with so many huge personalities and such leadership in the room, how are you imposing an order to this?
Yeah.
What are you, right?
So let me just say, I agree with you 1,000% that all of those women are leaders. And here's my definition of leadership. It's passion turned into action.
Woo.
It's passion turned into action. So, are you gonna write that one too?
I write everything down.
So, what I recognized coming in, it's a privilege to lead. You have to follow first. I followed this movement from the moment that Oprah made the Golden Globes speech, you might recall, when she got her award in January of 2018. And she said, for all the girls listening out there, a new day is on the horizon. And I was sitting at home by myself on the couch watching the Golden Globes, and I was like, oh snap, Oprah just told me to get up and help. I know she had a room, 1,000 people there, and it was live broadcast to millions more across the globe.
But she was talking to you.
But she was talking to me. And here I sit, almost 1 year later, as the inaugural president and CEO. So that was the power of her voice. She gave a clarion call, not just to me, I'm sure, but to others. But when I look at the leaders who were there, and who continue to be, as we say in sports, in the arena. It was a privilege to step in and ask to be a part of the team and be granted that appointment. So my role, Jen, is not to replace them, it's to coalesce all the voices. We are a collaborative environment. As our spirit mother says, I know she's here, Gloria Steinem, we are linked, not ranked. Write that down. Yeah. We are linked, not ranked. So it takes all of us, and not just women. It will take men too, enlightened men first, and then the rest of the men, because the enlightened men will help bring in the rest of the men, frankly. We are 52% of the domestic and global population. But we will not replace this patriarchy with a matriarchy. We must shift and share power. That's where the real issues are, is in the power dynamic. Men have held the lion's share of the power for a very long time. And what women are saying today, enough. We need our rightful place at the table of opportunity. We need to take our rightful seat. We volunteer to help solve the problems of the world. You guys have been in charge for a very long time, and things are still messed up. So we want to help. Women are assets, just as men are. Our voices should have just the same veracity and validity and value as men's do. So step to the side and let us step beside you. We no longer will walk behind you. We're not asking to walk in front. We are going to walk alongside you and make the world a better place. Period. Full stop.
I forgot that I had a timer, so sorry, everyone. I do have to ask one more thing, though, because one of the things that I am so encouraged by when I read about Time's Up, and the more that I learn and am involved, is that it's not just the Hollywood actresses. We do need to be leaders in that way, and goodness knows everyone's doing their best. But I am so excited by Time's Up Tech, Time's Up Healthcare, Time's Up advertising. And I just want to talk a little bit about what you were saying about barbells, that you can't be barbells, and just how is this, where are we going here?
Sure. So thank you for that setup. We started this all in Los Angeles with the Hollywood actors and actresses, and let me just say, most people perhaps do not know the story that farm workers wrote a letter to the actresses in Hollywood, 700,000 farm workers. Monica Ramirez, one of our sisters, wrote what we call the Dear Sisters letter to the women of Hollywood and said, we have experienced the same thing you have experienced. We see you, we hear you, we believe in you. And so from that very moment, there's a recognition that it's not just a Hollywood thing or just a farm thing or an agri thing. It's unfortunately incredibly pervasive. But so LA was perceived as the epicenter. We are now opening a global headquarters in New York. But not only that, that makes us appear to be a barbell organization with only a bi-coastal presence. Not true. We want to bring our message to the entire country and ultimately to the entire world. So stay tuned for an opportunity to see Time's Up, what we're doing and how we're doing it in a community near you. I know you're originally from West Virginia. Yes, we got you. We got you in West Virginia. But from Atlanta to Chicago to you name it, Roanoke, Virginia, to Minnesota, South Dakota. They're like, you're really going to South Dakota? There are people in South Dakota too. Yes, we're going to go all those places because women are in all those places. And when women are not in safe, fair, and dignified workplaces, it puts the family at risk, which puts the community, the country, the continent, and the world at risk. We need to make sure that women, at the end of the day, are safe, fair, and dignified in their workplaces, but frankly, everywhere. So we'll start with the workplace and radiate our influence from there. Are you with us?
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're fantastic.
Thank you not just for sitting and talking to me, which has just been a total just one gem after another. Such an honor, but thank you for leading us into this next chapter, and thanks for leading this movement. We need you. We're glad you're here. There's no one who could do it better or frankly at all, and I'm, thrilled that you're here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
Let's